Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise, and we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear viewer and listener, my name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. I welcome you yet again to another super exciting episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. As always, we try to bring you life-changing and impactful information. We bring you, difference makers within our society, people who are making an impact out there, to see how we can motivate you, how we can energize and inspire you. And before we even introduce this guest who's coming along today, please let me ask you a special favor. Just strike that subscribe button. We need your support, guys. We really, really need your support. And I'm really begging, please hit the subscribe button. Welcome to the studio, Skillo.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, very well. Some people don't know you as unbelievable as it seems. So kindly just introduce yourself for those few souls out there.
Oh, that's a difficult one, but I will try. My name is now Skillo Aabobe. I'm a young girl hailing from Kanye. I'm very proud to always tell people about my age because it tells my success. So I'm only 30 years old. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm a media entrepreneur. The reason why I'm saying media entrepreneur is because I'm both in the media space and I'm also a side hustler. I'm a diva in the industry. Like, I'm a go-getter. So basically that's me.
Yeah,
I'm a mother
yeah.
to a beautiful 10-year-old.
I love that introduction. It's a brilliant introduction. Tell us a little bit about your academic background, your school life, as it were.
Hey, I was proud to go to a government school. That's like, for me, when I talk about my academics, I take pride in that. I'll tell you a story about it. But I studied Botswana for primary till high school. At Rainbow. From Rainbow, I went to Sepa Pizzo Senior Secondary School.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to fool my parents because I've always wanted to go to government school when I was like in primary because I couldn't play with my cousins, I couldn't fit in conversations. So I got JC as a private candidate.
Wow.
Because I'm like, right?
Yeah.
So I did that, but took transfer to GSS because my parents had to come to GABS.
Okay.
And then again, I didn't want to study MOUB.
Were you coming to senior here?
Yes, I came to GSS, Gaborone Senior Secondary, because I was a senior for transfer.
Okay.
And then immediately after Form 5, we had to apply for varsity. And at that time, I was very young. I got rejected in varsities in Botswana because I was young. I finished school at a very young age. So
okay. You were 16?
No, I was actually 14.
Oh, no.
At that time.
Yeah.
So I began applying like South Africa. I studied for public relations management at Vaal University of South Africa in Vanderbilt Park, and then went and did my internship in Swaziland, mainly because guys, like, I just didn't want to stay home. I felt like, okay, I've had enough of this country. I've had enough of my parents. I just need a break. So that's how I studied outside the country, and eventually came back home and served me.
Well, where are you intending in Swaziland?
I was at Sbugo Sisive Agency, and it was at that time my project was to launch the airport, the current King Mswati, the third international airport. That was my project. From the whole thing, actually, the whole project was from Sikupe Airport to KM3, as it's briefly called.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Okay. I happen to know you from early days. I know that you're a pastor's kid.
Oh, Father Lord.
Were there any special challenges associated with being a pastor's kid?
Yes.
You want to share some of those?
And to make it worse, I'm the only girl. So I'm like the rose. I've got two brothers, and then it was only me. And I was always the girl who was reading the Bible for my dad at church. I was the praising the worship singer. The pressure was real. And, I couldn't find myself at that time. Oh, obviously I was a kid, so I'm always under my parents' wing. But obviously, at times you grow. I went to a private school. I would meet people of different backgrounds and everything. It was difficult. And in the 90s, culture and religion was very strict. And even to today,
no.
Right? So there was a time my dad went to school with my mom. PE because PE and
you can't wear pants.
And I was an athlete. I was like top of the range athlete at school, cross country, long distance runner, and athlete in short distance. So I couldn't be a part of the team because I couldn't wear pants.
It was a no.
Like, my guy, I couldn't.
Even when you are away from your dad.
Like, I couldn't. Even my pajamas and my gowns, my mom nan togela the gown and I'm so it was so painful because I couldn't do what I loved. But over time, they could realize it's affecting me because now I started not liking school and my grades were going down. So my dad had to just, say, dear Lord, just forgive me for that. I have to allow my daughter to wear pants. So it was one of those things,
So eventually it worked out okay?
Eventually it worked out okay. I started getting my medals, my trophies. I started touring the country. I was a happy child. So it was really that. Even growing up, eventually, issues of dating, it was like not allowed. And then I fell pregnant. It was the end of my world. So it was that. And,
what age was that?
I was 19 at that time, and it was my first year at varsity. So for me, it was really that. And at that time, I was now the black sheep of the family. The golden girl was now the black sheep. My dad couldn't go to church. My dad couldn't preach komanyalong. Couldn't do anything.
Who was stopping him?
It was ego. It was, I bruised his ego. I just let him down. And at that time, when he looked at me, it was like, how could you do this to me? How but hey, I had to go through a lot to make him proud. Right now, my dad is like the proudest man ever.
Yeah.
Despite this is like 2011 rather, saga.
Yeah.
So those are the challenges, I eventually stopped going to his church and church completely. Like I felt like I was dealing with a silent God, and I used to say to him, like, doesn't your God understand this? So it was, being a pastor's child is not an easy job.
Yeah. And you speak about it from a point of view of pain, and I suspect there might be one or two young entrepreneurs or business people who have gone through or might be going through that. What's your advice? How do we handle it if you find yourself, I don't want to say falling accidentally pregnant. I don't want to say that because it's never accidental. But falling pregnant.
It's tough because it's one of, you take a break in your life. From the day you're told, oh, congratulations, your life stops. And that means you have to now change everything. I was in varsity, first year, passing on a half scholarship, trying to build my brand. South Africa, it was difficult. But I had to soldier on because at the end of the day, everything says Skillo. It doesn't say my dad. It doesn't say somebody. So you immediately have to adjust and adapt. You need to know that nothing is smooth like a table. There's humps. If anything of yours is going smooth throughout, we check.
Then there's a problem.
We test stock. And I always say to people, if you're not challenged, you won't become better. If you're gonna look for like-minded things in your life, then there's something wrong. You need to always have something that pokes you to become a better person. So readjust yourself and adjust. And you know, I always say it's like radio. If you make a mistake now, it's gone. There's no cut. Take again. So
Live
it's
radio, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
things move on. You are as good as yesterday, and you need to move on with life. So for me, I always say that to people. My life is, I fail forward. I fail forward, and that's it. You have to adapt to
I
that.
think Denzel Washington said something like that.
Yeah.
I read somewhere. Now, in terms of your own self-discovery, let me ask you this way: how did the name Skillo come about? Because it's an unusual name, am I right?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a song, you know. So I would play when I moved to Jesus. I was coming from a netball school, and at that time, the netball team go Jesus in Nigeria. And I was like, I'm not going to be affiliated with the losing team. Oh no, I'm not doing that. And then I said basketball. Now, because I was an athlete and then the baller, it was an easy thing. And I was short, so I used to sing a song, you know. I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller.
Yeah, I know that song.
Yeah, so it started there. And then I had an adopted brother. He was called Skills. Now, people had no time to learn my name. So I hate at school. If you do Skills. So I went with that name, Skills, for the longest time. And then when I went into radio, 2015, when I did radio in Botswana, I thought, Marangasi video skills. I'm a tomboy, yeah? Marangasi video skills. So I decided, you know what, Skillo. Let's just call me Skillo. And that's how it started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the name stuck.
Yes.
Okay, but it's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
And let's talk about that you know, that first foray into radio. How did it come about? Who introduced you to radio?
At school, I was playing basketball, and we had a studio where we would just talk about how the game was. I'd come with my little phone and record the players. How was the game today? And I'll put it on social media. Our basketball team. And then there was an opportunity to have a debate on the campus radio. And I used to do that on a Friday. And I thought, hey, I want to do this.
You used to debate?
Yes, I used to debate. And my friend in class, was the producer of a breakfast show, Golisedi FM. So I would sometimes go and just watch him do this whole thing. I'm like, hey, yo, I want to do this, you know? But I was coming from a background of a family in Tairhare, and I'm like, I want this thing. I want to see if I'll go to jail because of my media. You know? And then when I came back home, I had literally nothing to do. And I took my CV and I walked to do my FM at that time. And I met
2015.
Yes, and I met.
I think I saw you.
Yes,
around that time.
Around that time,
I was doing Meet the Overcomers or something like that. Yeah.
And it was the same time. It was in the evening, and I met Mr. Sweat, and I was like, I'd like to do something here, and I'd love to volunteer. And I got there, and I love sound. So the first thing they gave me was edit that clip. And I did that, and I enjoyed it. And then I said, can I go cover the Kang, record? I don't know how to write news. They'll figure it out, give them a summary. And that happened, yeah. 3 weeks later, I bump into Galeboga Dihuzo and Joseph Mutibi. And they were like, hi, how are you? And then we started talking. And they said, listen to your voice. And I'm like, what's wrong with my voice? But we don't have that voice on radio. Baladi Kang. I was like, these guys are not serious. I didn't come here to come read news. I don't imagine myself saying, with the news at 1 p.m., my name is now Aabobe. No, I was Skillo. I just didn't want that.
Yeah.
So it was that, and that's how it started with radio. And my first gig was news reading lunchtime, lunch drive time, all the way until 6 p.m. And later I did sports with Latile Mutle and The Brand. From there I took a break, and I thought...
you took a break from Duma?
And then at the end of the year, I was like, I get back to radio. And I took a break.
Yeah. To do what?
To go and start my farm.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I know, like more risky.
This is around 2016.
Same year.
Yeah. So you just started a farm out of the blue.
Yeah, I told my dad, I think you're not doing something about your farm. Can I do something about your farm? And he's like, okay, what? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll figure it out after Christmas. Just give me time. I'll give you a proposal, and I do that. And after Christmas, I YDF.
Yes.
Apply. I applied the form, everything, and I got my funding. And I did farming for a year. And then I thought, I get back to farm. I want to go back to radio.
Yeah.
This was not my life. And it was then when I was at the farm where I sat down and I said, I need to work on Skillo and bring a different Skillo than the Skillo to my firm.
Is it like a reinvention?
Yeah, I had to rebrand myself. I was like, nah, farming is not going to work for me. But I'm going to keep the farm running, which is still running at this point in time. So that's what happened. And
in other words, you don't want to do it full time.
Yes.
But you want to do it as a side gig, as it were.
Yeah. The good thing is my farm is not far. I can go to the studio, get to a farm. So it's one of those things that I thought, okay, it's not far. I can do this on 3 times a week basis.
Do you run it as a business? And
Yes.
more particularly, what do you do exactly?
I run it as a business. I've got small stock production. I'm also into poultry. The cocoa, I'm into Potchefstroom breeding. I'm also into crop production. I've got a farm. Where you feed your sunflowers, your leblebs, your mahapum, your marotes, your midis, everything. So I'm actually now trying to go into agriculture, tourism also aspect of it. So
Wow.
I'm working on that. Yeah.
I want to talk about the farming as an economic activity.
Yeah.
How do you guys make money? How does it work?
The first 5 years will run broke, I can tell you. Because agriculture is not easy. Agriculture requires patience. If there's something in life that can test you, it will test your patience. And it takes a lot of time and money and investment. You make money after 4 or 5 years, trust me. Because the first year you're planting, like I remember with my brothers, it was an issue of you're fuelang, you're making sure that the sales are going there. We had to come together and work on our skills. And me being the girl, they would be like, no, when I come on Facebook, when I do, when I go advertise ahead, but now we'll do the dirty work. So over the years, we had to strategize on saying, how many bags are we doing? We need to budget. Because I think in a year, we used close to 100,000.
100,000 pula.
To ensure that, we're well. We had to strategize on to make extra income. And I always tell people, there are government incentives. Go out and take them.
It's fine.
All as well. At least my name is in the system. Next time.
So what exactly are these government programs? Can you share some of them?
What
does that stand for?
Hey,
Okay.
But it's for livestock.
Yes.
Yes. 50-50. For example, there's actual forms that you fill. How feta wa submit about the Minister of Agriculture, they eventually pay you your money back for the diesel and everything. Your YDFs that are there, I know. So there's so many programs that will biogas, like I'm also doing biogas at the farm.
How does that one work?
You also apply. What they do is they'll help you set up the whole manhole, the gas, the lighting, and everything. It's a whole process altogether.
Yeah. So
you function with biogas, and with biogas, you have to work with other farmers because you need the cow dung to come and make that function. So there's like a whole lot of these programs that are there. Some I've not really ventured into because they're not within my line of interest.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot climate change programs. You can there's a whole lot that you can do.
Well, why do you say that? 2 things that arise from what you just said. It takes 5 years to be profitable or to break even.
Because the results are not there. You're going to spend a lot first, maybe the first year. I used 5 as a number from the top of my head. So the first year you're doing production, you're getting there, you're learning. Sometimes climate change would affect you, or like because of the frost, and that's a loss. Now only cabbage deal about 300. You're talking close to 200,000 gone. Also now got fertilizer, also now do diesel, cultivate
And
the water.
sometimes it's totally unpredictable.
You know what I mean? And it's really one of those. Sometimes, like you're saying with government, and it's a system and it's there, but the system is not adapted to the climate change, and it means where now you need to think of ways to just do it. So it's tough. So the first year you're investing. The second year maybe you'll get 10%. The third year you become better because agriculture has no formula. You can't come and say no, now I've done this. What happens in Pandamatenga is not what happens in Tuli, it's not what happens in Sandveld, it's not what happens in Khanti. So you have to find your niche within your area and work against all odds to become a successful person.
Did you undergo any specialized training?
No. It's by God's grace.
Okay.
And growing in a family of agriculture. It's here.
It's in the DNA.
Yeah, it's there.
But who in particular, who was if you like your role model, who helped you the most on the farming side?
It will be fair to mention them because it's all of them. It's my dad. They all have farms, so it's different farming things. But the one person who pushed me is my mom. Like my mom would knock at 5. So however again, I'm like, 6. Hey, lawa we tell the put it hey, we and I was just like, sure, lady. But she pushed. And and sometimes when I don't do something, I'm like, I don't want that woman on my case. My mom she's like the backbone of the family. She's like our secretary, our treasurer, our PA and everything. She makes sure her refit lady pampiri well in advance. And now we hit outside the pampiri tower. We say and I'm like, okay, sure, cool. So she's one person that she pushed me to ensure that I've got everything on check.
Yeah. Now, did COVID affect you in any way as a farmer?
Yes.
Positively or negatively?
Negatively. It was a lockdown. I couldn't do anything with what I had.
Your produce.
My produce, everything. Because at that time, because I'm under YDF also, and I had not registered my business under the Services Essential. By the time I submitted that, it was late. So I had to think of ways to, collaborate with somebody and it was registered as an essential supplier. So imagine that hard lockdown and my produce is all there and there's nothing I can do about it. It was tough. But when the restrictions started easing down, it became easier. And then the government calls and says, no, I didn't good and immediately not that any opportunity that comes my way, I grab it and I did that. And that's how
you survived
everything out. And 2020 was a year of I grabbed any opportunity. It was COVID, it was Steve Harvey, it was a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how I survived 2020, but I'm here. So yeah, it's really one of those.
Yeah, you mentioned Steve Harvey. How did Steve Harvey and you interact?
It was the town hall meeting, that was at the UB Indoor Sports Arena.
I attended that one.
Yes, I was there. And I just got off the studio. I was doing the show at that time. It felt like a 12. And you know what? I need to go here. What this is all about. I was one of those Botswana.
Yeah.
And his closing remarks was, "I'm looking for people to work with in Botswana. Email your profiles to I don't remember steve.harvey@global-something-something.com." And it was specifically tailored for that project. Email and we'll talk from there. And I got to the office and I'm like, I'm not doing this. But when I got home, my boyfriend was like, and I'm like, Chief, I don't want to do this thing. It's a waste of time. But later in the evening, I sat down, I crafted my profile, I did everything, put every single little thing I've done in my life into a document and submitted. And this was in August. I literally forgot about that thing. And I got a call the day before the president was announcing you're from Gabs FM, you're about to cover an event. I go, okay, cool. Went there. And when I was there, the president was like, today we are announcing 2 people that are going to be joining Steve Harvey for this thing. And
For which thing?
for the project that he launched in August.
Yes.
And it was on the screen. He had recorded the message, Steve Harvey himself. And when he announced my name, I was like, did I hear right? Was that my name?
Yeah.
No, it can't be. And at that time, I picked up the phone. I called him. I'm like, dude, are you watching? He's like, yeah, congratulations. And the president, Mokgweetsi Masisi, at that time was announcing it. And I was like, this is real. And I couldn't believe it. Even when I went to do the Family Feud project, because it was the launch of Family Feud Africa, I was assigned to do Family Feud Ghana. And at that time, it came up COVID. So it was a bit skeptical. And it was January. And so we had to do it in South Africa. It was the best time of my life. It was there where we worked with Family Feud, Ghana, South Africa.
What was your role?
So it was basically to learn the whole project of what Family Feud is about. And, those guys were like, what is it that you love in the industry of broadcasting? And I said, sound. I love to work with sound. And that was my project. I had to edit the audio, the whole show. But other than that, I learned how to manage the whole show, the cameras, editing, callings, rehearsals, everything. I learned everything. But at the end of the day, my project was sound, and I did the sound engineering aspect of it with the Gasba Urban Brew Studios. So I really learned that, but even then, I was also given an opportunity to do something else. And at that time, I did Super Sport. I walked to Super Sport. I introduced myself to the Super Sport team. And, we had an opportunity to go and cover the game, get to work behind the scenes with the team. I think I did 3 games with them at that time. Over my time, the studio was 2 streets away from the hotel that we were sleeping at.
Yes.
So it was like a year of just grabbing opportunities.
Wow.
And but it was a nice one. I must say there's going to be more. A lot of people always say, it's a process.
Well, there was a lot of skepticism at the time, especially in the press. But
even in Parliament.
Even in Parliament, yeah. But overall, what you say has come out of this Steve Harvey experience?
Yeah, I learned a lot, One day I'll do a podcast like this, type of thing. I'll get to work on the engineer, but the opportunities are quite a lot. There's not only just having been on TV, even grooming yourself, having a conversation with him when he says to me, I like your confidence. Because I walked up to him and I said, can I take a picture with you? He's like, who are you? I'm like, oh, I'm Skillo. Oh, from Botswana. Actually, I said, yeah, I'm Mutusi. Can I take a picture with you? Because I had to introduce myself in a unique manner that grabbed his attention for that. So it was really that to say there's also life-changing conversations that were held. And even to today, I still carry them on.
Yeah. Well, I can't help noticing your immense confidence. Is it something that you cultivated or you are born with it?
Can I get shy?
That's hard to believe.
Trust me, I'm very shy, I'm very reserved. But when I have to come to the party, I come to the party. I had to learn to speak. Funny enough, but I started my confidence in speaking GSS under a group called Youth Against AIDS. We used to travel around the country and, so the secretary can so that was that. But I met a gentleman called Ishmael Bilokale, and he said, when you are playing basketball, you are like there. Baby girl, you're not going to go anywhere with life. And he started.
You have to express yourself.
You have to express yourself. If you're okay, if you're happy. And I started talking a little bit, I was taken to Yarna FM just to see the things, how radio works. And I was like, what he was saying to me, you need to talk. learn to talk, learn to speak. So that's how it started. But I eventually had to start getting comfortable with speaking. Then I went into radio, and people were like, you need to learn to talk. After the kang, then what? Who are you? You know, what is your fame? What are you going to be known about?
Your
And
claim
that's
to
it,
fame.
you
What?
know.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then thereafter I thought, you know what? I think I want to be a corporate MC. And that's how it started. And it's been going, and it's been
You
going.
have formed a company for that? Your own company?
Yes, I've got a company. It's called Cinemo. It's Sebaga, my daughter, Neo, my name, Molly, my mom, and it does quite a lot under it, and it's been there. And I've got a team that manages the brand Skillo. So it's like a broad thing. And I've got a team that runs the farm. So
You have teams.
Yes, I've
But
got
let's talk
teams.
about the corporate one. How does it function, and what services does it provide?
Okay, so we do media engagement, events management, but on the side of media, you know, because that's most of the time what we really need to know for your event to be known and out there. You know, your engagement with media needs to come to a certain level because media is evolving. We do that. There's also, you know, engagement, criticism. We sit and we do an event and we analyze your event to help you for your next event. We conceptualize events with people. We do graphics, we do videography, designs for organizations. And on top of that, I'm event host. So when I MC for events, I don't just come and say, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and introduce people. I want to be a part of the event because should anything go wrong when you are in the front, it is all on you. So if you don't know that event, you can never.
So how do you then become part of it?
When people call for bookings, I've got a manager and she makes it clear that Skillo is just not an MC. She's a part of that event. You know, when there's meetings for prep for these events, I am there prior to the event, the day before the event. In the morning, if the event starts at 10, I'm there at 7 because I need to see if we're prepping everything right. I need to know where my guests are seated. I need to know who my guests are. I need to know your employees. I need to identify an employee that I'm going to tease when I'm in front. Remember, I'm shy.
Yeah.
So there's always that one person that you have to pick in the audience. That alone, you know, takes it far. So I am that kind of a person.
I'd imagine you also want to know the theme of the event.
Theme, the outfit, how would you like me to dress? You know, because we're very sensitive. I always say being an MC is a brand on its own, and knowing who you're MC, you know. I learned that one time when I was MC, my first ever gig, I was MCing for the current president, and at that time he was a vice president, and it was an agriculture show, and I was wearing and he said to me, actually it was Matsile at that time, he says to me, and at that time
nice.
I was like, this is good feedback. And that's when I learned to say, when you MC, you look, and I'm young, so you can imagine when they see a kid as I'm always they expect revealing my body, but I'm an adult, I'm a corporate person. This is a president, this is a minister, this is a CEO.
You have to look the part.
You have to come to the party. So it's very important. So even my designer, she knows what I don't do that. So it's very important to be a part of the brand, know the language of the organization, pass jokes around it. So it's one of those things.
Yeah. I want to raise a subject which may be seen as a bit sensitive.
Yeah.
You have a 10-year-old child now. Raising the child in this century, what are the special challenges associated with that?
Raising a child in this century is very difficult. From my part, it's actually also more complex. I'm raising this child alone, okay? And now, I'm also raising her in between two generations. My parent, like the strict cultural parent.
Pastor and his wife.
Pastor, malume, mamuruti, Skillo, the media person. So treat this mic as my daughter. So this is my parents, and this is me, and this is my daughter. I'm almost all the time busy. My life is on social media. I've got energies, I've got hype, and I've got my parents. I have to balance the two. And I grew up in an environment where why.
You can't ask why.
You can't ask why. But my daughter asks. And my dad and I have to try and say, my baby, you can't do that. Why can't I do that, baby? Because if you do a baby, but baby, why can't I do that? I want to know. You know, it's that. And I'm now also raising a girl child in this era of a whole lot of drama, kidnapping, poisoning. I have to teach her, you don't speak to strangers. I have to teach her. Kids of today, they had lockdown, by the phone, YouTube. I monitored her. So it's very difficult to do that. It's very difficult to teach her to be independent. I remember one time she asked me, where's my father? And I said, he's around. He's like, but why doesn't he teach me this? And I'm like, call him. You know, so it's there. I'm also trying to teach her it's okay. Because she doesn't understand why your relationship is over, or why it's not functional, or whatever. You know, she can ask, your girlfriend, why does? And I'm like, child, you can't ask that question. You understand? So you have to teach with caution, not to overstep culture. Because I stay with my parents, I have to respect my parents. You still stay with your parents? I'm not going anywhere until I'm married. Oh. Rent is expensive. So is that the reason? No. For me, because I'm busy, I need somebody who's going to be there for my child, a parenthood figure. So that's my mom and my dad. I can say, I don't worry. Yes. So that's one of the reasons why I'm also staying with my parents at this point in time. It's to ensure that co-parenting. You know what I mean? I had to take an executive decision about it, and it helps me grow. You know, in those aspects. So it's not an easy one. Intergenerational parenting and conversations. Yeah. You know what I mean? So is it something that is you have to craft for yourself as an individual, or are there some general principles that you can follow? You craft yourself because your personality, you know yourself. It's one of those things. You have to adjust and adapt to your life. Okay. There's no decision I make without thinking about my daughter. If I take a gig, like for example, my daughter's writing exams, I'm very wary the second week of, or that week of exam, the week before, there's no gigs. Despite the fact that I need the money, I have to be there for her. Physically support her, encourage her, and everything. So it differs from one person to another. But as long as that decision makes you feel good, hey, jump on it. Yeah. Let's talk about broadcasting again in terms of what programs exactly are you running, and why do you think people should listen to you? Oh, I got a nice voice. It's a good enough reason. Eh? That's it. But my programs have evolved. When I started, like I said, I was a newsreader. I did the Farmer's Diary, which is an agriculture show. And then also on top of that, I do sports. I'm the first lady to do sports on Gabs FM, still the only sports presenter on Breakfast Show to do sports anchoring on that. And I do my daily sports update on the Breakfast Show at 7:30 and 8:30. So catch on that one. And then what else? So it's that. But other than that, I'm an overall presenter. There is absolutely no show I cannot do. I've done the Breakfast Show, current affairs, hard-hitting facts. I've done social lives. I've done lifestyle, travels, issues, takomalapeng. You know, as young as I am, I had to talk about marriage, divorce, side chicks, and everybody else. I had to be clued up, you know what I mean? So there's really just now I just say switch on the radio. Anytime you might just find me. Yeah. And youngsters like asking me, is there? I should ask my guests, is there Zaga in what they're doing? And if so, how does one make Zaga? There's no money. And there's literally no money. But the reason why we are doing it is because you know your value. So when you put your contract down, you know your value. I can't get paid the same amount as you. You know? But the truth of the matter is, it's not as luxurious as other countries. Bear in mind the economy of Botswana itself. Where I'm sitting, I should be getting 30,000 a month. But I mean, who's getting 30,000 a month right now in our country? These are specs. But I had to make more money, and that's when I went into MC, corporate and sporting events.
So does then radio become a platform for other gigs?
Yes, radio becomes a platform for other gigs. Staying relevant is very important because we live in a very tricky society. Hello, how tomorrow doing today? Tomorrow, like I said, there's a new presenter. They like that person. When are we? Obviously, people will talk about can't this Skillo guy 5 days. After 5 days, they're like pillow on to the next one. And even the agencies or body procurement, body event, they don't book you because they don't hear you every time. Come so about you know, these are platforms, but you know, we're living in an era where now social media is your brand, is your offers. So I also make use of social media to ensure that the relevance stays there.
And how did you personally leverage it to your advantage? Are there particular examples you can give of how it has worked for you?
Being on radio has given me an opportunity to build my profile. And you know, get people talking. Even controversial conversation has helped me build my profile. Meeting people has helped me build my profile. So I don't think when I go on air and I say certain things, I can have a listener say, you know, I've always said, I've said it to Bukale who's on radio. I've had ministers on the show and they were trying to change the topic. I'm like, no, but Honorable so I've positioned myself to being that girl that doesn't get intimidated because it's a minister, you know, or because of whatever the case may be. I've taken bold decisions. You know, I remember calling the president on his birthday at 8 p.m. and I was like, no, chief, happy birthday, bye-bye. Drop. And I become this I create conversations of people like that. So it has helped me so much that I've met opportunities of traveling, you know, being on social media, getting out of my comfort zone, and becoming a confident person and talking.
Opening up.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how do you then juggle? Is this something you have to think about? How do you juggle these different shall I say, demands on your life? Is it something you think about, or are you just on autopilot?
I'm just saving into life. But you plan. And, you know, when you plan to fail. And it's not a guarantee. Hence, you fail forward. But you plan. Like, I usually tell people I don't just do things. It's like going out. You can't just call me and say, let's go out. For me to go out and me to move mountains, I have to think about what happens to my daughter. I plan. Oh my God, I have an event tomorrow. I have to inconvenience her life and everything. So you plan. Going to the farm, it's money, it's time. I might be at the farm and I'm called for we need your services here. So you have to have content about your life. You know, there's all this, you're not giving me time. How are we supposed to build this relationship if you're always busy? You're running into just there like, oh Lord, you know. So you plan. You have to and take stand in life. If you are not comfortable with something, you're not comfortable with it, and share it and move on with life. That's how you really do it.
Yeah. What about the state of broadcasting in general in Botswana? Are you happy with it, or do you believe that there's something you could do? If you had a magic wand, you could wave that wand. What would you do to change things?
Can we remain authentic?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I would change, because you can't have another Skillo elsewhere. And I say this to the young guys that you have conversation with. Be you, because there's already a Skillo. Why do you want another Skillo? When the reason why we need other different people is a different feel.
You don't want copycats.
We don't want copycats, you know. Even our production team, I always tell them when we do MC and they're following me and doing videos, I said, there's no sequence, guys. It's a different event, a different feel. So as to radio, so as to broadcasting, you know, come out of the cocoon. That's why we are recycling presenters. It's because we're not giving batho ba ba hiram that thing we want. I want you, come to me.
There's no originality.
You know, so they can't afford to just bring and then tomorrow, hey, radio, yeah, bora, you know, that kind of thing. So be you, be authentic, be different, and be vibey, because that's what we're looking for. So if I was to change radio, I'll just say, if you're not authentic, please stay home. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and who are your role models in the field of broadcasting? Who do you look up to, both locally and internationally?
Oh, my cyber husband, Thomas Mlambo.
Who is that?
My cyber husband. He's a sports presenter. He's currently on Super Sport as a presenter. Like, it's him. You know, the personality, even off screen, is what speaks volumes to me. You know, it's one of those.
What
things.
is so special about him?
He's him. I don't and he fits in any situation. You know, it's really one of those things that you know, I sit and he's just there. You know, the way he loves Kostrating or even on his Insta is the same that he brings on television. He doesn't say, because I'm on TV, the Thomas you see on Insta is the same Thomas you'll see on camera, lights, action. You know, so it's one of those. That you're looking to.
It goes back to authenticity,
you know what I mean?
which I think is your main.
It's really that.
It's your main value.
Yeah, the likes of Kalibaka Boots or the fearless one. You know, he's one of those people that I just go back and say, yo, this is nice.
Why do you say he's fearless?
I don't know. He just goes in. It's either you do it or you don't do it. It's either you tell the truth or you don't tell the truth. And he tells you, I don't know, you're not telling the truth. That good, he's there. He's impartial. So it's one of those things that those are some of the things I subscribe to in my career.
Okay, wonderful. Now, if you were to grab that sort of what shall I call it? Just if you to look into the future, grab that crystal ball and tell us what you see in terms of brand Skillo 5, 10, even 15 years down the line. What can we expect to see? What should we look up to? Look forward to?
A sports hub content provider of Botswana, of Africa, hosting, Africa or even the world. That's what I'm working on. Because obviously my plan is not to be in front of the mic forever. Is to give opportunities, lay foundation for the young and upcoming generations. So that's what I'm really looking into, that this is the brand that tomorrow, even Lahanka Habana Lipula, the brand still runs and brings, the content, the value of the viewers, of the listeners.
What happens in that hub? What's going to be done there?
Content production. That's it.
In terms of?
It can be visuals, it can be video, audio.
So it will be like a studio?
A mini studio type of thing. So that's what I'm looking into.
And is it just Botswana based or international?
Well, it's going to be based in Botswana, but the world should come over. We can even do technologies there. You can host someone on internet basis, different platforms or mediums for doing that. So yeah, it's really for me that, but the hosting aspect of it, international platforms to be an MC, I definitely want to look out for. So yeah.
Okay, so those sound like exciting prospects.
Thank you.
Now, this is a time in this show when you get to ask me a question. Do you have a question for me?
When you pray for your business, right, what do you say for it to succeed?
Well, I'm always asking for scaling. I'm asking for growth, because I know with growth, the prospects for success are enhanced. I also I literally pray against, the schemes and shenanigans of the devil. And I pray that those schemes and shenanigans be frustrated and not come to fruition. And then I ask for strength that I can deal with whatever challenges are coming my way. I always pray for my children, you know that?
Yeah.
I always pray for my children, I pray for my family. And I say ultimately let God's will be done. So the focus for me is on growth.
Yeah.
Because with a growth oriented mindset. You're looking at abundance. You're looking at an open mindset. You're looking at a case of, even if you fall 7 times, you rise 8 times.
Yeah.
And that kind of mentality. And it's almost like a recurring dream. I mean, if I think the heavens, I probably sound like a broken record, because I can tell you exactly the list of things that I continually pray for.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm thankful. There's always thanksgiving and a recognition of God's lordship in my life.
Pastor's child asked the question.
All right. Now, this is the time as we wrap up, and thank you for sharing, so generously. This is the time now you look at that camera and you share a final motivational tidbits as parting words to the viewer.
Okay, life is challenging, life is tough, but you always have to stand up and stand out. Whatever it is, stay focused and move on. And in life, anything is unlimited. And, I always say to people, the sky is not the limit, but the view. That is me now, Skillo Aabobe.
Okay, now you have to share with them all, share with the viewer all your contacts on social media, please.
Okay, so I'm available for contacts at +267 77520040. That's 77520040. And to wrap it up, across all social media platforms, I am now Skillo Aabobe. That double L-O and a double A-A-B-O-B-E.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. You've been a great guest. You've been so generous. We appreciate fully your coming here. Thanks for honoring our invitation.
Thank you so much. We should do this again.
Yes, gladly. This time you'll tell me your social media tricks.
I'll
How
try.
come you're so successful?
I'll do that.